Excuse me. Can I quit this podcast?
I told Eddie Murphy to stay in college so he'd have something to fall back on. I did great advice.
Another episode of Stand Up Memories. I am Peter Bales. This is my partner in crime, Jackie the Joke Man Martling.
I heard a rumor.
What's the rumor?
We have a girl on the show tonight.
Yes, we do. We have a
Or
great
a woman
guest.
or a babe. What are you allowed to call them?
Okay. In this century,
A
Jackie.
chick?
And in this century.
We got a tomato on the show.
All right, man. You're the worst. This is 2025. Let's get with it. Let's get with the program.
Year 25.
Let me talk about our guest.
Okay.
Our guest is first of all, she has comedy in her blood, given her last name, but she's got a great career on her own with so much going on. And we're going to talk to her tonight. The one, the only Sheba Mason. Thank you, Sheba.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
It's so great to have you on the show.
I would like to announce you are the only Sheba I know. I only know Sheba from Jungle Gym.
All right.
Wasn't Sheba, who was that?
The Queen of Sheba.
Sheba.
Queen of Sheba, Sheba cat food.
That's
don't know.
right. Sheba cat food.
I
That's
heard
right.
that a lot in my
That's
life.
right. Not easy. Now,
That was a brand of cat food?
hmm
Really?
okay, yes.
The best brand, yeah.
Oh, well,
So
of
Sheba
course.
Mason, you've been doing comedy 20 years. I remember meeting you very early on in your career at Dangerfields. And you have so much going on. There is a Jackie Mason musical, and I want to hear more about that. You've got a comedy club going on called Three Monkeys.
hmm
Tell us about your comedy club. Where is it? And-
Well, here's the story. So it was 2020 in New York City, and every single thing was shut down. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? So I found a place that was near my house that was called the Three Monkeys at the time, and they had an upstairs that was a covered courtyard. So basically, it was not subjected to the elements, but it was technically outside. So you could defy COVID by having it legally, sort of technically outside and socially distanced, if you remember 2020. So I was the only real operating place that was a focused room from July of 2020 until April when everything else opened. So it was really great. And I kept it going for many years. I mean, David Tell was coming like 5 nights a week because it wasn't because of me, but it was just because nobody had anywhere real to perform.
Where is this? Where was this?
So this was on 54th between Broadway and 8th. And it was really cool. And,
I used to live right there. 50. Is that near like the Club Iguana?
yeah, it was. Yes. So then what happened was I ran it for 5 years really successfully, pretty much every night, which I never really meant to run a club every night, but I just sort of fell into it. And then the landlord shut it down, and they shut down Iguanas, that whole block, because they're going to build a hotel. So we were closed for like 7 months. And then they relocated around the block to 50th and 8th, and now it's open again. So
Three
there it is
Monkeys
again.
in Manhattan. Good shows. You get good comics.
And still called
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yes. Still called
Wow.
it. And it's called like Sheba's Speakeasy at the Three Monkeys.
Ah,
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it.
I
The
like
place for
speakeasy.
comedy.
That always has a nice.
Yeah, like
twang to
a
it.
sneaky kind of illegal place.
Yeah.
Speakeasy. So, there's so much to talk about. You tell us about the Jackie Mason musical.
Well, the Jackie Mason musical is a musical comedy written by my mother. It's about their 10-year relationship. It's a musical comedy with a cast of 7 people. We have a Jackie Mason doppelganger that plays Jackie. I play my mother, Ginger. I
Is she
sing.
still alive?
Yep. Yeah.
Is she in it?
She runs it. She runs the show. She's not
Okay.
in it. And, a lot of it takes
Your little
place.
mother couldn't even get in your show. That's so sad.
It is.
Well, she doesn't want to be in it. She wants to just, run it. She wrote the whole thing, all the music and stuff. And so, there's a person, it takes place a lot in Miami Beach, circa 1977 through 87 when I'm born. And then there's like a woman who plays the old waitress. It's really funny. There's a song in it called I Never Met This Yenta, where Jackie has to go to court and claim that he never met her and stuff, and that I'm not his kid. and that's based on truth, and it's funny. And there's a song called The Early Bird Special because that's what they did. They went from coffee shop to coffee shop all
Okay.
the time.
Of course. Of
Yeah.
course.
And so it's a funny, real heartfelt play, and it tours all around, the country. It's been in Toronto, and now it's going to be at, it was just in Long Island, actually, the Bayway Performing Arts Center. It was
Okay.
in the Hamptons.
All right.
And now it's going to be in the New York Comedy Festival at the Triad Theater the week of November 14th.
Oh, that's great. And that's a great little club. We should go.
We should go.
We
should
should take
come.
a podcast field trip.
The Jackie Mason musical. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
That's
All
what
right.
it's called?
Everybody remember that, the Jackie Mason musical. Now, Sheba, I gotta, when I heard you were coming on the show, I went way back to when I was in college, and I knew a young guy named Jim Belushi.
Mm.
And I remember that he did not like it when people asked him about his famous brother, who was a big, huge smash hit on SNL. How do you feel when you meet people and all they want to talk about is your father rather than what you got going on?
That's a little different. I'm interested too, but that's a little different than your sibling. You know what I mean?
No, your sibling is different from your father, certainly, yeah.
Because of sibling rivalry, you think?
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Because Jim Belushi went on to a
Fine career.
incredible. Do you like talking about your dad on a podcast like this?
Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, I had an option of not even claiming that I'm his kid, right? So,
No, I actually don't know about that.
well, I mean, my mother went to, they were together for 10
Yes.
years, and she went to court. They had a blood test and everything, and he paid child support and stuff. And I'm his kid. And it's
So
actually,
he did cop to the fact that you were his child and
Yeah.
he paid support. And
Well, after the blood test, I mean,
yeah.
what are you going to say?
wow.
But I do think you're right. I think it could be different for siblings. For me,
Yes.
I'm like proud, because
Yes.
it is my father, so I'm proud. I mean, as a sibling,
Right.
it could be different.
And he
actually.
may have been the funniest human ever. I didn't, I got along with him here. He was one of those people I'd see him and he'd be so nice. And then the next time I saw him, he wouldn't know me, but I knew him for so long because, 1977, that's when he was in Florida. He was working at the Diplomat. And
Yeah.
that's when Minervini met him
Yep.
and befriended him and asked him to open up the East Side Comedy Club. And each of us, me and Nelson and Bartlett, we each took a turn that week hosting and introducing Jackie Mason,
wow.
which was so exciting for us, But he had befriended Richie, and Richie was really good to him. And that's when he came up to Long Island. But
Yeah.
he was so funny and, always so great. But, he could turn on a dime, but that's every comedian,
Well, yeah.
So
But you're right. He was working at in Miami Beach, all over the hotels, Fontainebleau, the Diplomat, and that was because he had a huge lull in his career. That was when he met my mother at Wolfie's Delicatessen
That's classic.
Wolfie's in New York?
Yes.
Wolfie's
in Miami
down-
Beach.
Oh, in Miami.
And the reason his career took a turn is because the Ed Sullivan Show, right?
course.
Where he did not, in fact, give him the finger, and we do explain that in the play. There's a whole scene and song about it, and he did
For
not.
the
give him the
people
finger.
watching, Jackie Mason was an amazing stand-up comic, and he was on the Ed Sullivan Show. There's probably people out there that don't even know what that was, but the Ed Sullivan Show was this incredibly popular show every Sunday night for 25 years, and Jackie Mason was on that show, and they gave him a signal to get off because his time was up.
Exactly.
And he turned to them, and if you ever
Really?
saw his act, he was always moving and this and this and like this and this, and he looked over and he made a gesture, and somebody decided that was him giving the finger to either Ed Sullivan or whoever was on the side. And
See how you know exactly the whole
no, I
story?
knew
Yeah.
the whole story so
Yeah.
well. And I just wanted to say the version I know before I heard your version.
That's
So-
exactly what happened. You got it exactly spot on. So
But Sullivan stepped on him, just
really
because
passed
Sullivan
on.
had so many tentacles. It wasn't just not getting on his show. If you have Mason on your show, then your act's not going to get on my show, and so he could really hurt somebody. And he hurt him for a long time.
He did.
He really did. He really set his career back 20 years. But if he wasn't so set back, he never would have been in Miami. He never would have met my mother, and I wouldn't have been born. And actually, the reason.
So you owe Ed Sullivan.
Right. But it goes even further than that, because what happened was so, when you're a comedian and you're about to be on the Tonight Show or something like that, you plan your exact 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So he was like 2.5 minutes in, he's getting the wave off. He didn't know why. The reason why was because Lyndon Johnson had to make an emergency address, okay, because of something going on with the war.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it became that some people said he was giving the finger to the president of the United States, which was so far flung.
Yeah, you really know. So, but basically, though, if Lyndon Johnson was never in office, then that wouldn't have happened. So JFK was shot, so Lyndon Johnson was in office, right? So when people ask me, why do I have a picture of Lee Harvey Oswald on my wall? That's the reason.
He's your hero.
Yeah.
He opened doors.
Yeah.
He opened up JFK's head and doors.
That's quite a convoluted connection, but it's fascinating.
But it's absolutely true.
No, I
It's
guess
crazy.
you can make that connection. Now, Sheba, he came back, and he came back roaring. And what do you attribute that to?
Well, he was a fighter. He was really determined. My mother was driving him around Miami Beach, where he was working for $10 a ticket. I mean, because of this Ed Sullivan incident, really.
Yeah.
It wasn't like today where you had so many platforms where you could tweet and apologize.
No, you had
explain.
to go, and if you pissed off the manager of a hotel or the manager of the stage, you didn't come back there, and that was one less,
Yeah. Yeah. And then everybody talks like you know.
Now,
and there weren't comedy clubs.
Right.
Yet.
Not really. Right.
Now, you are a stand-up comedian in your own right, and that's no coincidence. And I want to ask you about when you were a young girl, when did you realize, wow, this is my father, and he is an incredibly funny comedian? Do you remember understanding that when you were young?
Yeah. Well, it was something so I was pretty much raised by my mother and grandmother until my mother got married. But they never hit it. They didn't shun it. They didn't want me to be resentful. They wanted me to really appreciate it. My grandma used to say, wear it like a cologne, like you're you, but it's also a cologne that's your father. Like, don't shun it.
So they didn't badmouth him.
Didn't badmouth him at all. And they really could have. They could have really, I see even like with my uncle, like people, ex-wives poison, their kids against the father. And my mother had ample opportunity to do that. And they did not do that at all. They really actually only praised almost too much.
Yeah.
It's like I should have a little resentment.
When did you decide you wanted to be a stand-up comedian yourself?
Well, I had done theater my whole life.
Right.
And actually, from the time I was 6, I performed all over the South Florida condo circuit with comedian Frankie Mann, who's now passed away. But he had like a big act. We would perform in like these giant theaters, in places like
So you grew
all
up in
Miami
You grew
Beach.
up in Miami Beach.
Grew up in Miami, and then we moved to Boca when my school turned. I was in kindergarten. My school started to turn because we were living in Hollywood, and it turned, and it got a little. To make a long story short, when I was in kindergarten, a few kids tied me up and peed on me, and my mom was like, "We're moving to Boca where there's Jews, so at least if they pee on you, you'll have." It'll be
that might be
It'll be fellow Jews.
That must be the most remarkable quote we've ever gotten on this show. They tied you up and they peed on you.
It was a shitty school, and we didn't really realize that.
Literally.
Yeah, because you're like 6,
But I wouldn't think of Miami as an anti-Semitic place.
Well, this was I was really Hollywood, and it started to turn. So then we moved to Boca.
Turn meaning going anti-Jewish?
Well, it just got
different demographic.
It just got like the school. Yeah, the school got bad. Things got creepy. It just wasn't like a nice place to be for a while.
So, Jackie,
just to kill any confusion, Hollywood is just north of Miami in Florida, as opposed to another Hollywood.
Okay, and to clear up any confusion for you, Jackie, being tied up and being peed on, you might be thinking that sounds like fun. For her, it was so traumatic.
I would never try that. I would never try that with you.
She had to move to Boca and go to another school. Okay, so that sounds really.
Did you ever go back and get those guys?
No, but I can't tell you that I don't have fantasies.
Okay.
Well, that's good to know.
But how old were you? Where were you when you said, "Man, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to go for stand-up comedy"?
Well, so I had been performing since I was about 6, all over Miami Beach, like all the hotels, the Fountain Blue, that whole Collins Avenue, that whole thing.
Performing it in like a
with
little act.
comedian Frankie Mann. So he was a comedian, and he would bring me up. I was Sheba Mason, Jackie Mason's daughter. I'm 6, I'm 7, I'm 8, I'm 9. I'm really cute. And he was a big deal. That was when he had just opened up on Broadway. So it was he would do his act mostly. And then at about the last 15 minutes, he would bring me up. We would have some patter and I would sing, and it was really cute, And that was like my first taste of some kind of stardom. Right.
Wow.
And then I continued to do a lot of musical theater. My mother's a playwright, as you know.
Would people come up after the show and say,
oh,
they were
constantly.
big fans of your father?
Oh,
and it was
yeah.
great to see you. And blah, blah,
Everyone
blah.
had seen his Broadway show. That was when he opened up The World According to Me. It was like just slightly thereafter that.
Yeah.
So this is 1983, 85?
No, I was born. Well, I don't want to tell you exactly when I was born, but I was 6.
Oh, tell us your age.
Look at us.
Well, I was 6 in like I was 6 in like 1992, 93. So his show opened up in like 87, and then he had another show a few years later. He had 8 one-man Broadway shows.
No, I know.
Yeah. So he was very popular back then. And like it really helped comedian Frankie Mann, who was like a friend of the family. He was a great guy. And he would bring me up, and it was like we just had this really great relationship, me and him. I would sit backstage with like the other acts, and like they would tell me jokes, and like that was like my first real taste of what it's like to be a comedian.
Do you remember going to a movie theater and seeing The Jerk and your father in that incredible role?
No, because I think The Jerk actually, I saw The Jerk later, on video, but I think The Jerk was before I was born. Wasn't it?
Okay.
I remember talking to, I don't know when that came out.
What a role. What
Oh, yeah,
an
that's
amazing.
classic.
But I
yeah.
talked to Jackie Mason either at the East Side or backstage at one of his one-man shows or something. And he was so pissed off because he said he had a very big role and it was very, very funny. And that Steve Martin chopped the hell out of him.
That's true.
Which is so common, not for Steve, anybody, like Howard Stern chopped out so much of Fred Norris because what Fred was being very, very, very funny, and they just don't want to give up that shine. And you can't even really blame Steve Martin. That was his first foray out. I guess you don't want everybody walking out saying, "Oh, that was a great," hey, Steve, I saw your movie. Oh, Jackie Mason was so funny.
Right.
You don't want to hear that. But what he did was great.
What he did was great. And again, I have mixed feelings hearing this because Steve Martin is an idol of mine. I think he's brilliant.
Me too.
But
I didn't mean that.
I had a chance to work with your dad. They had him at a comedy club called Rascals in New Jersey, and he kept coming back, and I got to work with him. So I've seen up front and personal what an amazing force he was as a comedian. But I'm more interested in you when you're on stage doing your stand-up. Do you feel your father inside you in some way, in your dialect, in the topics you talk about, and the way you talk about them?
That's a really good question. I mean, of course, he's the best, right? I mean, he's really one of the best. And sometimes when I perform at synagogues or something where they really know who he is, I say, they couldn't afford Jackie Mason, so they got me. But that was when he was alive. I can't say that anymore.
That was probably a great laugh, though.
Yeah. Now I have to think of a new line for that.
I not to be out of school. Is your mother Jewish?
Oh yeah, she's Jewish, but she's a lot younger than him, obviously. Like 30 years younger.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, now he's dead.
But he's a part of you, and when you're on stage,
I've been told that my cadence is like him. It's not deliberate. If it is, I hope it is, because he could read the ingredients on a Coke bottle and be funny. But, I can't ever say that could ever be as good as him. No, I don't even know if,
Do you ever say, do a hunk mimicking him or anything like that? Or
no, I mean, in the city, like you perform for the kids who are like in their 20s, they don't even know who he is, But when I'm on the road and, when they know, people over 40 know who he is. You 40, 45, they all know who he is. So I reference it. I have a lot of jokes about it and stuff. Some people do tell me that my cadence can be like him.
I hear it. I hear it a little bit. I definitely do. Now, we often ask the comedians on this podcast about the good things that have happened to them in stand-up and the bad things. that have happened.
You are so much more interested in the bad things. Why don't you tell the truth? He didn't want to hear how good you did.
And the
anywhere.
reason is because when comics go to the diner, most
That's
nights
what they
go
talk
great.
about.
That they talk
They
about
complain.
when things went wrong.
Oh God!
What's been the toughest for you in stand-up comedy? Let's go.
You mean like a particular night?
No, in general or a particular night. We all have those stories. I mean, it cannot be easy being Jackie Mason's daughter and going into stand-up. I mean, I can see how part of it would be wonderful and it might open some doors for you, but it's also got to be tough.
You know, at first it seemed really wonderful because he was still big when I started comedy when I was 19. He was still big. I got like a manager right away. I thought it was going to be great. And then I didn't have like a big manager, just someone who was giving me spots right away.
Yeah.
Where did you start out? Like House Place, Broadway?
Yeah, I actually
Broadway
started at
Comedy
New
Club?
York Comedy Club when he
New York
owned that.
He
And
owned that
Buddy
too.
Flip helped me a lot.
Buddy Flip,
Yeah.
started as a
Buddy.
Long Island comedian. I know Buddy well. Good guy.
I've never heard that name.
Buddy Flip.
You don't know Buddy Flip?
I was raised in a closet.
I was actually a waitress, believe it or not, at a comedy club. I was going to college and I had moved to New York City, not for the pursuit of stand-up. I had moved purely for theater. I thought I was going to audition and get into different plays, because I sing and I was dancing at the time and stuff. I was going to college here, in New York City. And I thought I was going to be a waitress. And then Buddy was actually like, you should do stand-up.
Yeah.
So then he started like letting me take his class for free. And he started like sort of managing me and giving me spots and stage time. And, it really seemed like great in the beginning.
This is at Stand Up New York or Broadway Comedy
New York
Club?
Comedy
Both?
Club.
New York
Yeah,
Comedy
and
Club.
it's
24th
great
Street, the
in
original.
Great in the beginning, but what happened?
What would happen to you?
A lot of things happened to me.
All of us.
happened to me.
I got fired.
Yeah.
Comics all have these stories of when it became really difficult, or sometimes you feel like you can't go on. I'm just being serious. Every comedian has.
I don't know if I stayed at the wrong place for too long. Like if I was, and that's not, I don't want to like name names or anything, but I think maybe I got involved with, I could have, I don't know. It's still
The
good.
wrong manager, the wrong relationship, the wrong
just like the wrong,
girlfriends,
the wrong crowd. The wrong crowd.
Gotcha.
And like where I could have really gone either way. And I think I just kind of didn't.
The people you hang with can make all the difference in going this way or going this way. And
my friendship with Jackie is an example of that.
Yeah. I didn't see Peter for 40 years, and that did a lot for me.
So listen, Sheba, I bet you have moments in your memory where you're on stage and it's just great. It's just right. That feeling.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And you want it again. It's like a drug. You want that feeling again as quick as you can.
Yeah, I still love it. I
Of course you do.
Now, when you're booking your show, or do you go out of your way to have lots of women on the show?
Three monkeys.
I don't go out of my way. No. I like to book who I think is funny, that is happy to do a very small room. I can't ask people to schlep into the city for like a tiny little room, but it's a very fun workout room. If either of you ever want to do it, you're welcome to, but I wouldn't even like invite you because it's so small.
I'm curious just to see it.
If you're always welcome. It would be a great honor to
and
have
you work
called Three Monkeys.
3 nights a week, 5 nights a
It
week?
varies depending on the week. Like, for example, this week, a lot of shows are canceled because of the Yankees, but like, sometimes it's 7 nights a week. Sometimes it's 3 nights. It just varies depending on the week. It's on the 3rd floor. So it is still a speakeasy.
So do you host the shows? Or do
No,
you
I run it.
You
And I
run
give
it.
myself a nice spot in the middle, and if I'm working on stuff, then I'll do long.
And so Jackie Mason, the musical, I have to admit, I have no musical talent whatsoever. Jackie does, and you do. What do you?
Yeah, I sing.
I sing, dance too.
Yeah.
See,
It's a whole musical with like dancing and singing. It's legit.
and it talks about his life and
Yeah, it basically goes through their 10 years together. And there is a scene where they talk about the Ed Sullivan Show, and it defends him. And he's played by a really charming, adorable guy. So like who looks just like him when he was young, like in his 40s.
And he explains his side of the story.
Yeah. Yeah, it really explains the side of the story. People are amazed when they come out. They can't believe how non-resentful it is, how it's not attacking. It's just really cute and playful and fun. And you get both sides of the story, you know?
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
You must have such powerful feelings about your father, both positive and negative. Is that fair? Or
Sure. For sure, it's mixed.
it's mixed?
Yeah, and they explored that in the play too. Like, you know, he was a known womanizer, as you know, right? He was tomcatting around, right? So my mother was like, she used to call
Well,
her-
he always made sure the women he went out with were 6 inches taller than him.
Yeah, right. Well, that's easy.
I used to say, you're right. He's a little guy. And I remember I'd drive across 55th Street. And a couple of times I saw him walking with a blonde. It was like 8 inches taller than him. And it looked to me like she was walking him,
Yeah.
which is such an unfair thing. But I could never get traffic to stop enough so I could open the window and scream at him,
Did you live? You lived in the city, right?
I had an apartment until about 3 years ago. For 20 years, I commuted from Long Island to the Howard Stern show for 18 years and then got an apartment. And the next year I lost the show. So I had an apartment for 20 years with no real reason to be in there except to have fun. But I lived at 56 between Broadway and 8th. And that's right where your father used to hang out.
That's
So
where I lived too.
He'd always be holding court at the Applejack,
Yeah.
I remember one time I was sitting at the Applejack doors there, and at the table right outside on the right, I was sitting with a friend, and Jackie was sitting at the other thing. I said, we're like library lions, the two Jackies, and at the Applejack. That was a great place. I loved it. But he would sit and just start yakking, and the comedians couldn't get enough of what he had to say.
Oh yeah, he was always holding court.
I always enjoyed it. Enjoyed it.
Ah,
Now, did he ever
Wow.
come to see you?
No,
He did. Did he just refuse to, or
I mean, like do stand up? No, he never came. There was a time that I used to, when I was like 19 and 20, I got a menial job bartending in the Broadway theaters, and I was working for Spamalot, and his show was across the street back then at the Helen Hayes Theater. It was another one of his Broadway shows. I mean, the guy was so prolific, And I saw him one night, and we spoke for a minute, and he said, "I want you to come tomorrow, and you'll come at the show is at 8. I want you to get here at 6:30, and we'll talk it over." And he said, "If for some reason they don't let you in, I want you to remember my address." So I took out a pen, and he's like, "Don't write it down because Jill's parents are standing right." So there's a whole nother layer of this, which is like his manager who got in the way a lot. And it was, kind of jealous of the fact that my mother had his baby and she didn't, and I understand
that
it
must
from
have
her
been
perspective.
an odd dynamic,
Yeah. I mean, like they weren't really together, because he was always
I
screwing
never
around
got
anyway.
in all those decades. I never got it straight. Is that his wife? Is that his manager?
Right,
Is
nobody
that his friend?
knows.
And nobody.
Right.
I don't know if they knew.
I know. Right.
if you can take all of this and use it to propel yourself forward in your stand-up career, the things you talk about, well, then you've really accomplished something pretty incredible.
Oh, thank you.
I mean
Peter.
that. I really
Thank you.
mean that.
Well, she already is with that.
And
with that
you
show.
are. I've seen you. You're really, really funny.
Thanks.
Sheba Mason is out there, and the best way to find out what's going on is Sheba Mason, S1E SHEBA Mason, ShebaMason.com. Yeah.
And the Jackie Mason musical is going to be in the New York Comedy Festival the week of November 11th, and it's like 3 shows that week.
And that's at the Triad.
That's at the Triad Theater.
72nd Street between 8th and
Yeah, it's 72nd and like Broadway. Yeah.
72nd
Let's repeat
Broadway.
that. The Jackie Mason musical is going to be in the New York Comedy Festival this November. It just sounds like history and fun and laughs. Nostalgia, definitely. I love it.
I'm
Monkeys.
sure the older comedians must just love it.
Yeah.
They must
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
So everybody knew him.
Yeah.
Everybody didn't love him, but everybody knew him.
Yeah, but
you know.
everybody knew he was funny.
Can you guys sit and watch a play, or are you those kinds of comics who can't sit and watch something?
I can sit.
I
and
can
watch.
sit. I can sit.
Are you
and watch
kidding?
anything.
I absolutely can. Now,
I remember your father. We did have some conversations, and and he told me how he used to get so pissed off. He said, because every time I see fucking Rodney Dangerfield, he said, Jackie, you're the funniest. There's nobody funnier. You're the funniest guy, the funniest stand-up there ever was. And then every time they interview him, he never mentions my name. That son of a bitch has never said. And he had a point. Rodney never mentioned his name because he was, they were head on, and
Yeah.
Jackie was naturally a lot funnier than Rodney was not a funny guy, but he had the funniest act in the world. But they were two completely different,
Off stage. Jackie Mason, hands down, funnier than Rodney Dangerfield.
And
That's your point.
Jackie never drank, never did drugs,
Yeah.
and I know, reading Rodney's book, he liked that. Not that there's anything wrong with it.
No,
Yeah.
but-
you come here about the Jewish people.
Well, I mean, Sheba Mason, you are a comedian in your own right. Congratulations on that. You're so funny
Oh,
and doing
thanks.
stuff out there. Now let's plug. Let's explain. Now with this, you're in Paradise Studios right now.
No, she's in paradise sitting next to me.
Next to you, because,
Absolutely.
yes. But this is Paradise Studios in Massapequa, and they have a lot of studios here and all kinds of facilities. Anything podcasting, video you need, come to Paradise Studios in Massapequa, and they have a network, a television network called Strong Island.
What a great place to
Tell
put
us.
on the Jackie Mason show and tape it and put on the Strong Island.
Strong Island
Talk to
Television
Bobby.
is the network. Strong Island TV, I should say, to be more accurate. Strong Island TV, and all of the podcasts are on there. And this will be on there very, very soon.
A week
In fact,
from
if you're
Wednesday.
watching it, it's on there now. And so we're thankful to Bobby and Paradise Studios and Strong Island Television. We're special television, Strong Island TV. Let's get it accurate. And Sheba Mason, you came out here for our podcast, and
we love you for that.
and you know
Oh,
what?
thank you.
You know what? You represent history and the present, and I mean you and what's going on with you now at the same time. And I think that's really, really wonderful. We honor your dad, but we also, you're a person in your own right out there doing so much. And ShebaMason.com. All right, check her out.
Thank you. Guys are so much sweeter than I thought you might be, Jackie.
No, we just don't say what we're thinking. No, I love you. I've always loved you. I always
you're
thought you were
sweet.
cute and fun. People really think, I'm always on the attack, but that's the only person I attack.
And only because I can take it. I can take it. And we've been
if I had a
friends.
nickel for how many people I've met, including my girlfriend and my best friends, that I meet them and all they knew was this guy on the Stern Show that was supposed to be such a wild man and such an idiot. And I'd meet people, and 5 minutes later, they're like, "You're a nice person." Well, of course I'm a nice person,
Listen, on the outside, Jackie can
Mister, you come in.
be a bit abrasive, but when you actually get to know
What
Jackie,
do you know?
when you
You
get to,
know nothing.
when you get to know Jackie on the inside, you realize that he's really pure evil. Come on, that's funny.
No, that was you took so long to get to that.
But I got to it. All right.
By the time you finished that setup, your hair was even whiter. He's a very funny guy. Peter.
No, you are really funny. I remember you from when I saw you years ago.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'll never forget the first time I saw Zach, because I saw it again last night.
Every couple decades, I try out a couple new bits because you got to mix it up. You know what I mean?
We will promote you, and we will come out and see your play.
Oh,
And we wish you the very, very, very best.
thank you so
Sheba
much.
Mason, comedian, was on our podcast tonight, and we thank you. We honestly do. You're terrific.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Next
All right.
week, we have Don Knotts' aunt.
That's actually kind of funny. Once in a while, a
It'd
blind
it'd be
pig.
really nice if one person in our audience knew who Don Knotts was.
I think they do. But I had a nice put
Did
down.
you know he was a ladies' man?
I heard.
Don Knotts. And you know who else was a ladies' man? Curly
Oh, I knew that. And a partier.
and a partier.
But I had a great put down. I said,
Everybody wants to get laid. You ever
When-
notice that?
when
It's the force that drives us.
That's
all
the
right,
thing.
I had a great put down, but I lost.
ahead.
No, I lost it 2.5 minutes ago. No, Jackie's funny, and I have to admit it. And
Okay.
all right. Well, this has been another episode of Stand
I want
Up.
to tell you
Oh,
one
my
funny
God.
story about your father. The Stern Show had really caught on, and it was probably 92. And not only has the Stern Show really caught on, but we had gotten on the E Show, which was the television version that was on for an hour a night, 5 nights a week. So
remember
it's
that,
all
baby.
Howard and Robin, but you couldn't help but see me and Fred because they'd see us. So now we're at the point where everybody knew who we were. And one day I was standing on the corner, funny, right across the street from Wolfie's, but Wolfie's in New York, 57th and 6th, I think it was. And I was standing on the corner, and all of a sudden your father's standing. He said, "Hey, Jackie, how you doing?" We start talking, and of course, when he's talking, hey, and how you doing? And of course, a few people gather around, not a million, because we're waiting for the light. And a carload of guys stop at the light. And they open the window and said, Jackie! And they didn't know who he was. They were kids, teenage kids, not teenage, but Stern Show age,
Yeah.
And I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And your father went off for 10 minutes. So funny. "You've been in show business 2 minutes. You think they know I'm a major star? They all know me. I'm a major guy. Everybody knows me in this country. And you think they're talking to you? What is wrong with you? They're talking to me." And I'll tell you right now, they had no idea who he was. And it was it was one of my
That's
favorite
really
stories.
funny. That's so believable too. I could totally see that.
Oh, I've never had. I got it.
I don't even think I've heard that before. No, you never told me that.
So, Jackie Mason came to the East Side Comedy Club, and he opened up the first week of East Side Comedy, first full-time comedy venue on Long Island, because Richie Minervini, the owner, who me and him started comedy on Long Island in a bar, and became the East Side Comedy Club. And Jackie came in there and worked a couple of times. And I suggested to him, you should do an album, because he saw that I had albums, and it didn't have a happy ending. Of course, his backers, they're still running. But we're going to do an album. He said, "Why don't you guys come in, then we'll write some stuff to put on the album." Because his plan was to do some stuff the album's called Election 80.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to write some stuff about the election and then sprinkle in his act, which is how he did most of his Broadway shows. So me and Richie Minervini and a guy named Barry Mitchell, who played the accordion, might have been one of the guys, went into Park Avenue and went up to the second floor. And this is I've been a comic for 6 months or a year, and we're at Jackie Mason's apartment. So I'm like out of my mind, freaked out. And we're all so excited. So we walk and we sit down, and Jackie's sitting in the chair and we're sitting on the floor. And we're pitching ideas. And we're having fun. And I have no idea what I said, but I pitched an idea, and he said, "You just thought of that just now?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, that was in your brain, and you thought of that, and you just came up with it right now?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You, my friend, are a genius. You are a genius.
Wow.
You thought of that? You are a genius." So I'm sitting there with a heart on, like, this is Jackie Mason. Tell me I'm out of my mind. "What do you say? Let's go to the deli. Maybe we get some pastrami sandwiches. Let's go. Take a break. Let's go." And we get into the elevator, and it was an old building, you probably know, that still had the lattice that opened up, and the doors opened up, and you got in. There was an elevator operator. And we got in the elevator, and the door closed, and the elevator operator closed the lattice, pushed the button, went down to the first floor, and the lattice opened up. And he turned to the elevator operator and said, You just brought us here from up there. You, my friend, are a genius." I said, "Well, so much for Jackie Martling." There went my heart on. That's my favorite Jackie Mason thing.
It was like the
has
breathtaking
been-
thing on Seinfeld. When it was,
This
really
has been Stand-Up Memories.
We love you, Sheba.
Sheba Mason,
oh, thanks,
comedian,
guys.
Jackie the Joke Man, who is who he is. I am Peter Bales, and we'll see you next
Unfortunately, you are what or whoever you are too. You could say
Right.
that.
time. Yeah.
Don't